The content, views, and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the City of Bremerton, BCAT, their officials, or their employees. Welcome to Conversation with the Community Leader, brought to you by the Leadership Kitsap Foundation. I'm your host and Leadership Kitsap alum, David Walters. With me today is author and independent filmmaker, Anisa Ashabi. Anisa, thank you so much for joining me.
So excited to be here. Anisa's
latest and ongoing project is turning her book, Finding Chaz, into a pilot program. So as she's working on that, she has been featured on King 5 TV Evening Magazine, and last week was selected as Leadership's Kitsap 20 under 40. So congratulations for getting selected as 20 under 40.
Thank you so much.
So we have lots to talk about, but before we do, let's kind of focus on you. So where are you originally from? Where'd you grow up?
I am Kitsap native, Kitsap County, born and raised, kind of between Bainbridge Island and Paulsbo. So I went like K through 8 on Bainbridge, and then I graduated from North Kitsap and Olympic College.
I went to North.
Go Vikings.
And then so after high school, you said Olympic College?
So in high school, I did the Running Start program.
Oh, the Running Start program.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super popular these days.
For a reason, you know.
It's a great program. And then you went off to Wazoo, correct?
I did.
What'd you study at Wazoo?
Communications and journalism, but I actually did my degree online, like before COVID, so I was nice and like acclimated when the pandemic hit.
Oh,
I was like, I'm already all online. And
yeah, we were talking earlier, you graduated during COVID, which is just an awkward time in our educational program.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Basement graduate.
So when did you first write Finding Chaz? Because I know this is super interesting.
So the story of Finding Chaz is definitely a non-traditional kind of route. I started writing the original draft in 8th grade when I was a student at Woodward on Bainbridge. And that year I was like partially homeschooled. So my mom came up with this idea to just kind of do a fun narrative project as part of my homework. And so I did 2 class periods at Woodward. I think it was math and science. And then I'd come home and I'd sit at my computer for like 4 to 6 hours every single day and funnel all of this sad teenage angst that I was going through as a 13-year-old into the manuscript. And I'd sit down with my brother and we'd come up with all these wacky plot lines and just kind of have this brain dump session that finally became the first draft of Finding Chaz.
Okay, so you wrote it in
2012.
In 2012.
Yeah.
Went off to college, came back from college, and then when did you publish it?
So for about 8 years, Finding Chaz sat on my computer just like languishing. I had forgotten about it. I didn't have any intention of coming back to it. My brother would approach me and he'd be like, that was really good. It's still timely. I think you should return to it and infuse new ideas into it. He did that all through high school and early college. And I just kind of blew him off. I was like, no, I'm busy. I want to pursue other fields. I don't want to do it. And then when the pandemic hit and everybody had a bunch of time, I started kind of percolating on these new ideas. And the 2 of us were locked in the house. So we had every opportunity to start, that brainstorming session all over again. But this time we were adults and we had better writing skills, more lived experience, and kind of the means to actually make this a thing.
And looking back at things in hindsight.
Exactly. So it was a fun way to fuse genuine experiences that I had as a teenager with like more adulty wisdom that I'd gained in the decade following.
So what year did it get published?
2022.
2022.
So 10 years in total.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's a really cool thing. And then, so what made you take this broad jump to go, I think I want to make this a TV show? I mean, that's a huge jump.
Yeah.
What made you do that?
Just a little bit of insanity, I think. So there were a few reasons why I thought that it would be a good idea to do it. A lot of the feedback that I'd received a lot of the positive feedback that I got was like, this reads almost like a Netflix series.
Oh, okay.
And in my delusional mind, I was like, well, then it should be. It should be a Netflix series. But when I was writing it originally, I always kind of viewed it, I guess when I take my as part of my writing process, I'm really just visualizing these people as like real people in scenes and scenarios, like in almost like in a TV format. And so it just seemed like the natural progression. And what ended up happening is I started thinking, okay, how would I pursue a career in writing for television? This was kind of a dream that I'd had since I was a kid, but had no idea how to pursue it. And through like a distant family connection, I ended up connecting with a Hollywood screenwriter and got some advice from him for breaking into the industry. And he ended up saying to me, you know, I read some of your book and I thought it was really good. And if you'd like, I'd be happy to mentor you as you adapt it into a pilot. So it just kind of was like this perfect.
Just kismet, just kind of worked out.
Exactly.
So how hard was it to take your novel, right? That is, you've put so much, 8 years worth of effort into it.
Right.
And now suddenly you're going to turn it into a screenplay, right? Where you have to have, which is drastically different format, right? You only cover a certain part of the book at each episode. So was that hard to take your baby and turn it into a screenplay?
I think it was hard in some ways. A lot of it felt extremely natural because some of the dialogue is just directly lifted from the book and into the screenplay. But at the same time, a lot had to be removed. Right. Certain plot points had to be reworked because they didn't translate the same way to the screen. So the first about 4 chapters of Finding Chaz are what ultimately became the pilot. And the goal is to eventually be able to take the entire book and adapt it into season 1 of television or a limited series. But yeah, it was a kind of a fun opportunity to be able to look at these characters outside of the protagonist's point of view too. Because the book is written from a first-person perspective. And then when you're writing for TV or you're writing a screenplay in general, you're getting to break down some of the walls a bit and look more from like a bird's eye view versus like through the eyes of the main character.
So I've seen
that was really fun.
So I've seen your trailer on YouTube. So it's not done on a first person the way the book is written.
Not exactly.
And for full disclosure for everyone, I have a copy of the book. I'm only about 20 pages in, so I've got a ways to go. So, but this is written first person.
It is.
Your pilot is not first person at all. It kind of is.
There's some voiceover.
Yeah, some voiceover.
So we do have the narrator who is Roxy. She's a freshman in high school. And she is, especially at the beginning, when she introduces Chaz, there's very much this narration. And there's like a montage in the beginning of Chaz's antics and Roxy's, you know, we get to see her perspective and how she feels about his antics and who he is as a person. But I plan to, as the series progresses, fall a little bit away from that and be able to dive into some of the plot lines that we, weren't able to get a first-person perspective from in the book.
And then, I know everyone has to ask you, is Roxy you?
So no, with the caveat that a little bit.
Okay.
You know, when I was writing the book originally, I think in the revision stages, I was able to really divorce myself from Roxy because I was no longer, you know, a 14, 15-year-old girl writing it, which helped a lot. But when I first embarked on this journey, I was definitely was Roxy.
Okay.
And then when I came back to it, I was like, no, I want to change some things. Roxy is like a very unfiltered me. Like if I behaved like Roxy as a mid-20s adult, that wouldn't be a good thing. Right. But as a teen, you have a lot more leeway.
You do.
Yeah.
And so your book is obviously written in 2006 timeframe, but your pilot is modern day, right? It's current
No, it's
time?
a 2000s kind of throwback.
It is.
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
No, I think this is such a period too that we're in where nostalgia is so hot.
Yeah.
Nostalgia for a lot of eras, you know, the 80s, the 90s, and definitely
It also
the 2000s.
opens up your audience.
Totally.
Right, it completely. So it's a little marketing there. It does open up your audience.
And we had a lot of people working on the set who were actually, you know, millennials that would have been in high school at the exact time frame that the characters were. And they were like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen these phones in forever. And we really tried to lean into the 2000s vibe for like the wardrobe and for some of the lingo that the kids use and the technology. So it was really fun.
So don't use the word drip.
No.
Okay.
I don't use the word drip anyway.
Well,
though.
you're too old for that. But So you're going to turn this into a movie or into your pilot. How do you get going? Right, for one, it's got to be expensive.
Yeah.
Unless it's all volunteers.
I wish.
And you own camera stuff that no one does. How do you get going on that? How do you fundraise? How do you get moving on that?
It was definitely trial by fire. I'm so fortunate to have people in the community who wanted to get behind this project. They believed in a lot of the messaging in Finding Chaz, because at first glance, it kind of just looks like a fun high school coming of age story. But there's a lot of important conversations to be had about, the identities of the characters, the representation in the storyline, and, it's a very authentic kind of time capsule of what it's like to grow up in the United States in this period of time. That resonated with a lot of people, and I was very fortunate to have individuals in the community come forward and donate their money, donate their homes for filming, just really want to help out in various ways to bring this project to fruition.
Because you're all filmed in Kitsap County.
In Paulsbo and Bainbridge, yeah. And then, of course, I put all of my own resources into it.
Right. So you have a lot of skin in the game.
Oh yeah, I'd go so far as to say like all my skin in the game. Yeah,
that's great. So when we talked last week, we talked about if you wanted to give a shout out, you could. So who's your biggest fan?
My mom.
Your mom, awesome.
Like unironically, my mom, my mom and my brother, and my dad is cool too.
Okay.
But my brother has been my collaborator since we're best friends. So we have, decades of working together and kind of uplifting each other. Anybody who reads the book or watches the pilot and observes the relationship between Roxy and her brother Nick, that is true to life.
Oh, okay.
And then my mom is just like my biggest supporter. So I'm very fortunate to have a family that, might think I'm a little bit insane for doing this. But
it is a little crazy, yeah.
But they, back me 100%. And I recognize that is just huge, and I wouldn't be here without them. Oh. So shout out to my family.
That is awesome. So ongoing expenses, right? So you have to have a budget when you start.
Yes.
And were you able to have the money for at least your initial budget?
Yes. So
how are you doing staying in budget?
That's a work in progress. I'm continuing to work and put any money that I have into it. I've taken out loans. A lot of loans. And it's an ongoing process, especially as we're in post-production. So upcoming expenses are, music, colorization, sound, and then we're hoping to be able to host a premiere to thank all of our supporters and let them be able to witness this and see it on the big screen and kind of come together as wow, we pulled this off in the spring on Bainbridge and hopefully one in Seattle as well.
Okay. So you filmed this summer, then so what's your current status? So as far as putting it all together and getting it ready to present?
We're in post-production. The editor is currently working on the second draft of the rough cut. Okay. So hopefully by the end of this month, I'll be able to look at that and evaluate what all still needs to be done as far as editing goes.
And then that's the music and colorization.
That's going to come, after we have the picture lock.
Okay.
So that's the process that we're in right now. And then all the while, I'm continuing to try to fundraise for the post-production expenses. And so we were lucky to be fiscally sponsored by the Northwest Film Forum over in Seattle. So the donations were tax deductible.
Oh, good.
Huge plus for
that's
everybody involved.
Yeah. And so what's your timeline for getting this out there and getting it going? So obviously in parallel you have to be doing marketing.
Yes.
Because you have a huge online presence.
Fortunately, we do. We have a lot of people who are very invested in seeing this come to life, even more than it already has. Mm-hmm. They want the whole series. They want it on Netflix or Hulu or wherever. So we're very fortunate to have that. And as far as ongoing promotion and marketing, I'm wearing probably 10 different hats right now. So I do the social media for the most part. I have people who assist with, press and press releases and things like that, just to make sure that we're always at top of mind in the community
So where did you find your actors and your directors? Where did you find all that? Are they local? Where do you find?
So the crew was all Seattle based,
Okay.
which made things a lot easier. So the director of photography, camera team, we did have a few people fly out from around the country on the crew side, but for the most part, they were all based out of Seattle. And then the cast, we used a website called Backstage Casting, and we put out this casting call, talked a little bit about the story, uploaded the script, and we had a huge turnout, which I didn't expect. People all around the country really excited about doing a project like this, because it's in the same vein as really popular shows like Never Have I Ever, Ginny and Georgia, things like that. And people were excited about that. And we were able to have them submit their audition tapes and then kind of whittle down from there who was best suited to each of these roles through their self-tapes.
Oh, okay. So everyone, all the actors you have are super on purpose. It's not just the only person you can find, right?
No,
it was okay. That's really interesting.
It was a whole about 6 week to 8 week process of us carefully the director and I going down a list of applicants and narrowing it down.
Narrowing down to who could convey the message you wanted from each character.
Honestly, really for our budget level and our resources, and even far beyond that, dream casting. I really was happy with everybody's performance and how well they were able to embody these roles, because these are characters that I've been crafting since I was really young.
Oh, yeah.
They're very special to me. So it was hard for me to, especially for the roles of Roxy and Nick, like I said, they're more personal roles.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
I really hope that we can find somebody good, and we did.
That one has a chemistry and relay your story. And then the character of Chaz is Chaz. Who is Chaz?
Chaz is kind of an enigma. And
okay.
We keep it that way on purpose in the book and in the show. So at first when we meet Chaz, we think we have him figured out.
Right.
He's very creepy, he's lecherous, he seems to have, zero scruples about any of the things that he does. And he just is unabashedly gross. And then we kind of peel back the layers as we go along. And with the show especially, the final scene of the show is where we exit Roxy's perspective and we get to see Chaz in his environment.
Okay.
And it's very cool that we're able to do that in the show, because the book, we don't discover really anything about him until further down the line.
Until way near the end.
So that was fun for me to kind of get to explore that.
Oh.
But Chaz is very complex, but he's also not. He just wants to be who he is, but he has no understanding of how to go about that.
Yeah, he's quite the character. In the, at least at the very, at 20 pages in, he's quite the character. And then on your trailer, he is quite the character.
Mm-hmm. We really amp it up in the trailer too.
Oh yeah, it seems very, very fun. So you have 4 main actors in it, right? You have the 2 women, the brother, and Chaz himself.
Yes.
And are those the 4 that are going to get mostly explored in the series? Are you going to dive into other characters, or what's your plan for that?
So those are the core 4, but there are quite a few storylines that kind of spiderweb out from them. There's another character that comes in, Cece, who is a main character, and then we get to explore this really fun. It's fun, but it's also it ends up being a bit heartbreaking. This plot line with her and her cousin, and
let's not give
don't
give it away.
No
don't give it away.
Well,
don't give it away.
See when you keep reading.
I'm gonna read it, so I'm gonna finish it. So
and then we get to see a bit about the parents as well. So Hannah's mom, Chaz's dad is a personal favorite of mine. He's just a character that's dear to my heart because he's insane but a teddy bear at the same time, and just trying to make his way in the world in his middle age, and it's great.
So let's jump ahead 5-6 years from now. Show's behind you.
Oh.
What's next? Are you gonna pursue filmmaking? Are you gonna pursue screenwriting? Are you gonna go back and write more novels? Where do you see yourself?
Kind of all of the above.
Okay.
In an ideal situation. Currently, I'm kicking around ideas for a second book, like a companion novel to Finding Chaz. Whether or not that will end up being a book, or I will just, kind of farm those ideas for season 2 of Finding Chaz, we'll see. But it's certainly not the end. The last page of Finding Chaz is certainly not the end for this character universe. There are a lot more ideas. And then there's this other series that's in its infancy that I'm working on. I don't even want to drop the working title.
Nope, don't.
But it's everything that people like about Finding Chaz. This kind of kicks it up a few notches.
Okay.
And it's a bit darker, more adult, but it's still got that like really weird humor that I think will resonate with people.
Well, that's good.
Hopefully.
That's good. So in Finding Chaz, the characters, so you have lots to do with it, because I think everybody, they're ninth graders, correct?
Yes.
Ninth grade. Everybody remembers ninth grade.
All too well.
8th, 9th, 10th grade, no matter if you're the cool kid or not the cool kid, it's a tough time. It's got to just totally resonate with your fans.
I think so. And I think it's a good opportunity for them to see, for fans that are actually in that age group, like it gets better. And we've all been there. We've all felt these things, and all the awkwardness and daily, the slog of school and all the friend drama and boy drama and parent drama is all to be expected, and you can kind of make light of it.
Okay, so you do bring parents in.
Parents are in,
That's awesome. What advice do you have for a young screenwriter producer that's interested in jumping into this crazy career that you've started?
You mean like doing independent filmmaking or writing in general?
Both, just to get going. If someone if someone's watching going, man, I want to be her someday.
I would say, be true to yourself. And if you feel that this is something that you want, just keep writing, always be observing, talking to people, making connections, and don't let setbacks kind of discourage you. Like if I were to look back and think of all the setbacks that I've had, it's like I still have gotten to this place and I still want to be up here, but enjoy the process, I guess is what I would say too. And there's not like a one track to getting where you want to go. I kind of like did a little bit of a windy road to this point, and it all ended up being great story material. So I would say comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare.
Oh, that's great.
Surround yourself with people that are uplifting and inspiring. And there's not one path to getting to where you want to get. And don't, get down on yourself, because I've done that and it's not productive.
I bet it's a roller coaster. So what can the community do to support you and to support other artists like yourself?
I think just recognizing that an undertaking like this is really, really difficult, and that really anything is helpful. So we had people donate like meals for craft services on the set. That was huge. Like that a gesture like that is huge. Obviously, donating money is, these things don't get made without money. But there's so many other ways that people can help too. If you have contacts in the industry or people who are able to compose music, or know somebody at a record label and would be like, hey, we can let you use Green Day for your soundtrack.
Okay.
Anything like that would be tremendous.
Okay.
And anybody who just wants to talk and hear more about the project or about Finding Chaz, like I'm happy to go out and grab a cup of coffee and fill your ear with all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome. So wish you the best of luck with it. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
So
you.
I'd like to thank you personally for all the amazing things you've done. Keep up the fight. Congratulations again on the 20 under 40.
Thank you so much.
And I really look forward to seeing where you're gonna take this thing. So please visit AnisaAshabi.com for the latest on what crazy things she's got going. And of course, leadershipkitsap.org for more information. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to next time on Conversation with a Community Leader.